Just over my right shoulder there is a very narrow lane called Pink Lane. It connects Neville Street, where Central Station is in Newcastle, up to Westgate Road. It's about 200 metres long. Many of you locals, especially Newcastle United fans, going to the match will be very familiar with Pink Lane because it's a cut through up to St James's Park. But it's also one of the oldest streets in Newcastle, one of the most interesting and quirky streets in Newcastle. Some reckon it's got some of the best bars in Newcastle, but it's also full of hidden gems of information and secrets that I'm going to unravel in this video. Amongst others, why is Pink Lane called Pink Lane? Why is Gunner House and the Gunner Tavern called Gunner? Well, we're going to get to the bottom of some of that and more in this video. But to do that, I'm going to start at the other end of Pink Lane and work my way down. It's coming up. Welcome back, it's Eddie here from Tyneside Life. If you're new here, I cover the history, culture, sometimes even the football of Newcastle and the general Tyneside area. I try to unravel the history and some of the mysteries of our famous Geordie land. So I'm here now at the other end of Pink Lane, the northern end if you like. There's 200 metres or so a stretch of lane that is directly behind us here. And where I'm stood just in front of me, this is called Westgate Road, because of particular interest of Pink Lane is its strong connection to the old town wall of Newcastle, and very few sections of that wall remain. It was built in the 1200s, over 700 years ago. And where I'm stood, like I said, just in front of me, Westgate Road, the oldest road in Newcastle, which follows the old line, the old Hadrian's Wall, from here all the way to the west coast in Cumbria. And it was here at this very spot where one of the gates, one of the 6 gates in the old town wall was. It was called Westgate. And if you cross the road directly in front of me onto West Walls, you'll see one of the best preserved or best sections of the old town wall, which curls round Stow Street, and then you'll see the magnificent St James's Park. And one of the first mysteries I want to unravel at the very beginning of Pink Lane by Westgate Road is a kind of a tiled Space Invader mosaic just on the wall there, about a foot by a foot, next to Angel Nails and Beauty. What's all that about? Well, Invader is a French urban artist, and he's been popping up all over the world, a bit like the French Banksy, splattering these tiled Space Invader mosaics all over the place. And in 2006 he put about 20 odd in the general Newcastle and gated area, and you can go to a website and actually go on a hunt to find them all as well. And obviously there's one here, but they go as far as Cancun all the way to Hong Kong. They are all over the place. And directly opposite the Space Invader is the Pink Lane Bakery. I've been here a couple of times. They do absolutely beautiful homemade pies, sausage rolls, pastries, cakes and the like. They do sandwiches, they bake their own bread. There's another branch in Gosforth. If you haven't tried the Pink Lane Bakery, you need to pop in. I'm not being sponsored, I'm not getting any free food. Seriously, beautiful. Pop in and try it. So we'll start to head down this little section here, and you'll notice there are 2 or 3 Thai massage places. Just on the other side it looks a bit dirty and run down, but don't let that put you off. And Pink Lane then plops you out on the junction of Clayton Street West. You can see the lane continues down there, and roughly straight ahead of me there is the answer to the next big question, is why is Pink Lane called Pink Lane? Well, round about here, just in front of me there, on the old town wall, before it was all knocked down, was Pink Tower, one of 19 towers on the wall. And they called it Pink Tower, I believe, because there was a tinge of pink to the bricks. Now the towers, all 19 of them, were semi-circular structures, and Pink Tower was no different. And in 1770 it was converted into a brew house by Thomas Blackett. Unfortunately, because of the Clayton Street West developments, the whole thing was pulled down in 1852, so absolutely nothing remains of it other than the name of Pink Lane, which ran just inside the town wall. And as we cross over Clayton Street West onto the next section of Pink Lane, there's a place here up on the left, a new place called Serenity Spa Gym and Bistro. It only opened in June this year. It's a ladies only gym, but I've been inside, had a little look around, had a chat with the owner. Guys, if your lass is going to use the gym and the spa, etc., you can come into the cafe inside and you can have some food. Now apparently they do gorgeous jacket potatoes, but omelettes as well and paninis, and they even do deliveries between 11 and 2 around town if you wanted to take make an order through these. They do cocktails as well, and obviously the hot drinks and coffees and hot chocolates, etc. So, if you've never heard of it and you want to go somewhere different, try Serenity's. And next to Serenity's, we come to the first of 6 bars on Pink Lane, the Madhouse and Rafferty's. Rafferty's obviously one of the old traditional bars dating back to the late 1800s, I think. These bars and the other ones we're going to see are absolutely rammed on match days, Newcastle United fans. But you do get a sprinkling of away fans in these pubs as well, I've seen. But an excellent place to come pre-match, and really busy on a weekend. And next to Rafferty's is a very quirky bar here called Prohibition, and it's exactly as it sounds. It's a Prohibition 1930s America themed bar. It's only open after 6 p.m. Wednesday to Sunday, I believe, and they do cabarets and burlesque and jazz and other types of music. I've been inside, like I say, but it's really done out. The decor is like a bar you would go into in 1930s America. So if you want to try somewhere different, try Prohibition. For 2 or 3 decades, Newcastle's notorious red light district was on Pink Lane, 60s, 70s and 80s. I'm a bit too young. I was too young to know anything about that, but if you have a little bit more knowledge about the red light district, obviously it's all gone now, and you dare, put a comment down below and let us know all about it. I've heard as well that Newcastle City Council are planning, hopefully next year, to paint the road here pink and string some lights up just to spruce the whole place up a little bit. Now, behind me are 2 very old and beautiful pubs for 2 completely different reasons. The Forth over my right shoulder and the Town Wall over my left shoulder. Now, by now you'll know why the Town Wall pub is called the Town Wall pub, and it was just down along my left here where the old Town Wall used to go. Now, the Forth, any idea why it's called the Forth? Well, going back to the 1300s, and in the time of King Edward III, he gifted some land to the people of Newcastle as a kind of a thank you for their efforts in holding back the pesky Scots when they were coming down to do their little raids on Newcastle. So he gave that area around the southwest of the Town Wall, outside of it, as a recreation area to the people of Newcastle, where Central Station is now and where Forth Banks is, where the new police station is. It was all very landscaped, beautiful views over the river, tree-lined paths, benches, etc. And that's where the term the Forth comes from, and the Forth pub. Now, beautiful pub, like I say, if you haven't been in already. They've got a terrace bar upstairs. I didn't know they had a terrace bar. It's called the Secret Garden. Check it out. But also do food as well. Now, they have a room in there as well called the Tommy Burns room. Tommy Burns is an ex-world champion boxer in the early 1900s, and he actually owned the building for a few years, and that's why they've got a room dedicated to Tommy Burns. Did I mention he was from Canada? Ontario, Canada, he was from. And the other side of the road we have the Town Wall. Beautiful bar. If you haven't been inside of there as well. A couple of the rooms are a bit like libraries. They have a working fire. Beautiful food as well, and it's the old Grade 2 listed building of it's the Thomas Buick House, which was an operation obviously before they turned it into what we now know as the Town Wall pub. Again, on match days, both of these pubs are absolutely rammed with Newcastle United fans. And something I've just discovered myself this very minute is just above one of the doors on the Forth there is what looks like the remains of one of those ceramic tiled Space Invaders, the same of which we've got at the other end down there at the far end of Pink Lane. I never knew that. And right next to the Town Wall pub there's another pub right on the end, the last one, the 6th, called Gunner Tavern. Now, that used to be called Gotham Town back in the day. It was a very popular night spot in Newcastle. I never went there back in the day. If you did, what was it like? What was Gotham Town like? Now, in between the 2 bars is a patioed area belonging to the Town Wall pub, and you can see kind of a curved wall just behind us there. That's a recent addition. But this very site here is the reason why the Gunner Tavern is called Gunner, and of course Gunner House, because right here on the wall was Gunner Tower. Now, it was unfortunately demolished in 1885, but the foundations were excavated in 1964. They found all sorts of Roman artifacts as well in the foundations, but there's nothing left of the tower now. Obviously, it's all gone, but that's why the Gunner Tavern is called the Gunner Tavern. And the last point of interest on Pink Lane, at the very end, next to Neville Street, is a cafe called Pink Lane Coffee. It's been there for about 12 years, directly opposite Subway and tucked in behind Greg's. It's a specialty coffee cafe. It's an independent. It sources its coffee mainly from South America, in Brazil, in Colombia, but also in East Africa, from Ethiopia as well. So they're a roastery as well. They roast their coffee in Sandyford and bring it across to here to Pink Lane in Newcastle. But they do food as well. They do breakfasts and paninis and sandwiches. They've got vegan options as well. It's dog friendly. So if you haven't been, check it out. It's beautiful coffee. And that's the end of Pink Lane. So I'm going to get a coffee and a sandwich in a moment from Pink Lane Coffee. And I just want to let you know that I'm going to be doing a completely separate video about the history of Newcastle's medieval town wall, because there's so much to say and far too much to cover in this one video alone. So I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you found it informative. If you did, give us a thumbs up and let me know any little nuggets and gems of information that I might have missed in the comments down below. Anyway, I'll catch you next time.